Hello, everyone. Brother Al McClaney with this week's stewardship video. And as always, before we get too far, here's the disclaimer. No advice should be seen as a recommendation, as I am not a planner, and this is for educational purposes only. So you want to do your, and as always, uh, if you have a licensed financial advisor and you have a registered uh, certified financial planner, that's what they're there for. So this is last week took a break in which had Tim Keller. I hope you enjoyed that teaching. But before then, we had talked about Genesis 3, and it was who told you were naked? And it was uh, from the Garden of Eden, in which Adam and Eve had the fall, in which they ate the fruit. They disobeyed God, and He found them. And this takes place uh, before then. So in Genesis 3, verses 8 through 9, it says, "And they heard the sound," meaning Adam and Eve, "of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool afternoon breeze of the day. So the man and his wife hid and kept themselves hidden from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, 'Where are you?'" Now, that's interesting because we know God is sovereign. He's omnipresent. He's omnipotent. He's all powerful, and he's omniscient. He's all knowing. So he knew where Adam was. But the point is, did Adam know where he was? Did Adam know what is the current status and what's the situation? What has now happened? And that's what God asks us daily. Do we know where we are from a spiritual standpoint? And then here's a stewardship principle here. We're now mid year 2026, July. And the question now becomes, where am I? Where are you when it comes to your stewardship goals? And if you don't have goals, this is an excellent time to do that. So God is not only asking, where are you? Do you know where you are? The question becomes, do I know where I am in relationship to my financial stewardship biblical goals? And in this case, we're going to focus, of course, on finances, but this is also, from a spiritual standpoint, from a health standpoint, from a relational standpoint, here's a check-in mid-year of what's currently the status and what's going on. And so there's a great uh, tool I have, and this is motivated, this video, from a Art Rayner podcast, in which he has a podcast called Christian Money Solutions. And Art Rayner, me and my wife were listening to it as we were driving to San Antonio a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about a mid-year check-in, and he called it financial state of union. And here you can see christianmoneysolutions.com/free resources. You can get this document, and I'm showing a portion of the document here where you can see you add up things like step one, review your generosity. Step two, review your cash, review your debt, and it goes on and on. Retirement savings. So you can go out to this christianmoneysolutions.com/free resources, scroll down, and there is a section that says time to take a closer look at your finances. Use the financial state of the unit to get an honest, realistic view of your financial health. And you put your name there and your email, and they'll send you this PDF document. It doesn't add itself up, so you still have to do like the stubby pencil, pen, and paper calculator. But this is a great time to do it mid-year. And Art Rayner talked about it in his podcast, and you can actually go find that podcast. And he talked about he likes to do it at a minimum twice a year, but do it at least annually. Some people do it quarterly. And it's a great check in to see, hey, where am I? And the last page of the document actually checks off, hey, am I on track with my goals? Yes or no. And if you haven't done goals, don't fret. Hey, this is a great time halfway through the year to come up with some goals for end of year. So I think this is a great document. I also included for those of you who get the distribution, I actually attached the PDF document so you can just print it off and utilize it. Otherwise, you can just go out to the website. So let's change gears. Let's take a look. We're about to get into the thick of earnings season. As we always said, Nike ends the earnings season. Delta begins it. And by the way, Delta reported great earnings this week, or yeah, this past week. And now that ushers in the thick of earnings. Earnings season always begins with the financials. So you've got CD reporting next week. You've got Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Bank of America reporting. So it always starts with the financials. BlackRock and there's a smaller bank, M&T Bank. Then you got PNC. So I guarantee there's going to be some movement in the market based on because oftentimes banks are kind of forward looking to what the economy looks like. So it's almost symbolic that they begin the earnings season. But we also have some other big ones: United Airlines, Netflix. That's a huge one when it comes to technology. So there's going to be movement next week in the market. It's exciting when we start to get into earnings season. So one of the things that's going on is the president has returned from the NATO meetings, and doing that, the big theme is he's continued on to say, "Hey, you other NATO partners are not doing your part when it comes to defense spending, and the goal should be 5% of your GDP." Which, by the way, the United States didn't, as much as and as massive as our defense spending is, it's still not 5%. I think it's 2 or 3% GDP, but it's still huge for the coming out size. But see, this Wall Street Journal says there is no going back. The inside story, the Europe's uh, rupture with America. Uh, the Secretary General of NATO says has tried to appease Trump administration by flattering Trump while promising that European countries will spend 5% of their GDP on defense. So this means that that money's got to go somewhere to defense companies. And so here's a summary table of who may benefit. And these are all symbols, but like RTX is Raytheon, LMT is Lockheed Martin. For those, that's local to us. That's Boeing, BA. That is PLTR is I can't think now, but it's a Planeteer, Planeteer, which is in the cybersecurity. Um, so you can look these up and you see right here how they benefit because that's massive spend. Even though the U.S. had like $1 trillion defense budget, all these other countries, if they ramp it up even to, like, say 1%, that's a huge amount of money going to these companies. So this could be a potential idea. Of course, do your own research when it comes to potential investment opportunities. And we pointed out the symbol. If you're not familiar with the symbol, you can go to stockanalysis.com, put the symbol right here, and it'll tell you which company it is. And then you can do your own research when it comes to that company. So before we get into the overall just how the market performed this past week, I want to take a look at this CME Fed tool because it's even Kevin Walsh, the new Fed chair, is alluding to it's probably not going to be a rate cut. It's probably going to be a rate increase to try to slow down inflation. So looked out at the 16th, so July didn't happen. 16 September is the next meeting, and I'm sorry, we got a meeting coming up, which it's June, it didn't happen. July is not going to be a rate cut, but September, the Fed tool is pointing to the current rate is 350 to 375 basis point. That's current rate right there. Here is the 375 to 400, which is a quarter point increase, 51.1%, 18% if half point. So September on, it's pointing before the end of the year, there's going to be possibly a huge probability of a rate increase, not a decrease, but a rate increase. So this is how we finished the week, you can see we've just been churning in this channel. We ended the week with some buying going on. But we've been in this channel. There's been QQQ, especially, been taking a hit when it comes to sell off. But here's something I usually don't point out, but implied volatility is the market's looking at what's the probability that we're going to have supreme some severe ups and downs. So when this is up high like this, you see the implied volatility. You can see, look at all this volatility in whether up or down. It didn't say which direction. It doesn't say how severe, but it does say it will be when you have elevated what they call implied volatility. You can see now volatility has been coming down, and because we've had a little bit more smoother up market happening, because volatility is QQQ going down. And here's same thing with SPY. We've been in kind of this channel, ended the week up July 10th of the market close. And again, same thing with SPY. Volatility has been coming down. So with that, that's this week's stewardship video. Excellent opportunity uh, from the biblical teaching of where are you? So where are we? Where am I when it comes to excellent opportunity mid-year when it comes to our goals? And with that, we'll see you next week with stewardship video.